Tonight, we are going to be talking about Michael Jackson, the Michael Jackson movie, Epstein Island. Yes, we're going there. And how the light is disrupted and turned into dark. And how these evil players are distorting our truth and distorting the light. So let me slow down, because yesterday afternoon I went ahead and I watched the Michael Jackson biopic. It's called Michael. And, I'll be honest, the reason I went was to be motivated. I was looking for motivation. I had just come off of a trip to Miami to meet with some clients, to feel the spice and the vibration of Miami, because that's where everyone is right now. Movement is life, and the movement and the life is in Miami. Unless you're blind, you can see that. But something deep inside of my chest, inside of my heart, has told me to stay in LA. Something has told me to come to LA. And so I went to Miami, had a fantastic time, filmed a fantastic podcast, and have many more podcasts lined up. And in fact, considering renting a part-time apartment in Miami because of the spice and the vibe and the life there. But I came home, and I am a manifestor in human design. If you know what human design is, I'm a 5/1 manifestor. So I need a lot of time to myself. I need a lot of time to integrate energy. And I come home, I got off on the red eye on Saturday night, Sunday morning, went to church with my family. That's very important to me. And repented of my sins. I definitely made a few sins in Miami, I won't lie. Nothing too crazy, but I'm on a sobriety path, and I might have had a couple martinis. And, Monday comes in, and Sunday afternoon, Monday, I worked like a dog. Handled my client calls, handled my team, integrating the footage from Miami. And as a manifestor and as a woman in business, even though I love working with my guys, I have women clients. I do love working with my guys, though. I need time to integrate. And so Tuesday morning, I worked really hard, and I booked myself a nice solo lunch and an afternoon movie to see Michael. For the motivation. I was looking for an Andrew Tate moment. I was looking for, you better get out there. You're going to fail. You're going to lose. You're going to die. That's what I was looking for, honestly. And, my husband's very understanding of my need and my artistic side of myself that requires these downtime moments. Now, just to be clear, I'm not a moviegoer. I am an purist. I love the classic comedies. I love the classic films. Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, Audrey Hepburn, Spencer Tracy, Humphrey Bogart. I grew up on Turner Classic Movies. I grew up on Jack Nicholson and Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and The Godfather is the greatest film ever made, right? These are the movies I grew up on. So frankly, in the last 5 years, I know exactly the movies I've seen in theaters. I've seen Onward, saw it for my son. I think he was 6 at the time. Onward is a little cartoon Pixar. I saw Dune 1, 2021. And I saw Oppenheimer, Barbieheimer, and Dune 2. So I don't go to the movies. I think movies have gone downhill a lot. So this isn't my usual way to unwind or to relax. But Michael Jackson is a classic. Michael Jackson is the blueprint. Michael Jackson is known by almost every person on earth. Okay? Just to put that in perspective, I was watching some reels, I was getting my inspiration. I use social media. I don't let social media use me. And so I was watching Gary Vaynerchuk, and someone asked him, do you know who iShowSpeed is? And he goes, what do you think of iShowSpeed? Do you think iShowSpeed is a really powerful, up and coming? He goes, just to put in perspective, iShowSpeed is a pimple on Michael Jackson's ass. Okay. And he said, really? You think he's nothing? He said, I didn't say he's nothing. I just said compared to Michael Jackson, he's nothing. He goes, excuse me, sir. Do you know who iShowSpeed is? And the guy goes, who? And he just said, there you go. That's the difference. Everyone in 1985, every person alive knew who Michael Jackson was. Almost every person alive. 13 million people saw him in a live concert. So, I'm not a Michael Jackson stan. I don't go to movies, okay? And if I could be completely honest, the only Michael Jackson songs that I actually really know are the ones from Motown with the Jackson 5. Because I was raised a purist on the 60s and 70s, was the purest form of art for music, movies, television. So I really only know the Jackson 5. But I was compelled. The best thing I could say was I was compelled to go and see this film. And I thought that it would motivate me to work hard. So many feelings, thoughts, and emotions for me watching that film. And I want to share some of the key takeaways that I took away from it. Number one, we're going to start with the spicy shit. We're going to start with the stuff that you probably don't want to hear. It's good to get your ass whooped once in a while. Yeah. It is good to get your ass whooped once in a while. And Joe Jackson whooped Michael Jackson's ass and his siblings, all 10 of them. There was 10 Jackson children. And people love to highlight how Joe Jackson was abusive. Joe Jackson was abusive. Joe Jackson and the Jacksons were living in hell. Let me not understate the fact that Muncie, Indiana, or Gary, Indiana, they are hell on earth. Hell on earth. And I believe July 26th is Joe Jackson's birthday. I believe that Joe Jackson had a premonition for his family. Joe Jackson, who's working in a steel mill. And I know we're all so desensitized and so detached from how painful this life is. But a steel mill is hell on earth. Sulfur is the smell that you come home with. Heat and pain and fire is what you're dealing with every day for 16 hours a day. Just to go home to your screaming, hungry children in Gary, Indiana. Cold, snowy hell. So did Joe Jackson whip his belt off to make sure that Michael and the brothers were in line to be on television? You're abso-fucking-lutely right, he did. And that's what any loving parent would have done. And that's exactly what I would have done. I would have been like, boys, get your ass in line. Harmony. Harmony now. Because otherwise, you're going to be in the steel mill too. So is that abuse, or is that the deepest form of love? And has our society gone so far astray that whenever anyone wants to whoop your ass into shape, you call that abusive? But when someone wants to encourage your bullshit, you are loving that up. Now, I will be honest, when I tell a story, I might go left, right, and then back to center. So follow me. Stick with it. But when I went to Miami, I saw a place that had no master. No master. No one whipping the talent into shape. Michael Jackson was a God-given talent. That's a fact. But had his father not pushed his ass to perfection, Michael, look at me in the eyes, we would not have what we have today. And I look to Joe Jackson and I see someone who had a premonition, because now, Gary, Indiana, there's no daddies at the house. It was certainly rough, but what's worse? Being raised without a father? Being raised by a mother who raises you up into the streets to be a drug dealer? I'm just saying. Two things can be true at once. Is it right to hurt children? Absolutely not. Am I encouraging child abuse? Absolutely not. But when the child's future is hell on earth, I'm going to pull my belt off my waist, baby. Yes, we are, certainly. And I remember my husband's told stories to me, And he didn't certainly never became a Jackson 5. He's one of 7. And his dad whooped their ass because you had to survive, to live. Because if you didn't get up out the bed, you weren't going to eat. If you didn't get your ass out there with the 22 to shoot a rabbit, we're so disconnected from what the majority of boomers actually went through. We're so spoiled rotten. And that's why everything sucks. Yeah, because nobody wants to say, you know what, Ginger? And this is why I love my husband. And this is why I don't feel like I belong, because, yeah, am I naturally talented? Sure. Am I naturally confident? Sure. I'm not the best podcaster, though. I'm not the best interviewer. And if nobody tells me how to be better, what does that do for me? What does that do for you? So that was off the jump, more whipping. Yeah. And you look, this is a horse year, and you look at horses out in a race. Okay. You look at stallions, Arabian stallions, they're getting their ass whooped to win. And if we're going to win, we're going to have to take a little direction. A little humility is going to take us very far, because so few people are willing to have any humility, any correction. And look where we are. We got mumble rap. We went from Smokey Robinson, James Brown, Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5, to mumble rap real quick, fast, and in a hurry. So tell me, who is the abusive one? Who? Is it Joe Jackson, or is it the mothers raising these boys up to be up in the street? Is it these passive parents who want nothing to do with their kids, and the kids want nothing to do with life, nothing to do with art? I put my foot down. I want a renaissance. I want excellence. I want to listen to music that is good. I want to see videos that are good. And I don't want to see videos that are produced by a freaking machine that has no feeling, that is just a bleep blorp cog. You're mad that movies aren't good. You're mad now podcasts aren't that good, because it's all a bleep blorp, no feeling, no hunger, no fire. So off the jump, we need our ass whooped. And I will put myself right in that category. And the reason you follow me, you need your ass whooped. You need a real sibling, a real auntie, a real one. A real auntie is not here to whisper sweet pleasantries into your ear. You have problems, blood pressure, you're overweight, you're not doing what needs to be done. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to whisper what you want to hear. Haven't you had enough of that already to be where you are? Haven't we had enough of that already to be where we are as a culture? So that's just my first take on the film. And I think it applies to what we're doing here, because a lot of you are avoiding taking accountability and responsibility for your health. You have a DoorDash bill that's $400 a week. I don't want to invest. I go out every night. You can invest. You're already allocating your funds to some bullshit. So excellence is your choice. It's in your hands. And that's love. And honestly, Joe Jackson loved his children. He loved his children all the way to the biggest stars in the freaking planet with the biggest selling albums ever in history. Yeah, whipping them into shape. So, on the contrary to where that side of things, of this discipline and love through wielding and honing of the power, the other side of this is the part that I was not prepared for and had me in tears. I'm a Joe Jackson. I have children who need to be fed. I'm a woman. Cam Newton said it. As we have kids, our value goes down. I'm just saying, that's what they say. So I have to take care of business. Okay? So when I watch Michael, the way that Jafar portrayed his uncle, like I said, I was thinking I'm going to be coming in and I'm watching, Rocky, you can do it, get in the fight. And I was reminded of my childlike wonder that made me go into the entertainment industry in the first place. Imagination, laughter, joy, fun, like having a good time, creative juices, flow, collaboration, synergy, real synergy. Why do we hate corporations? Because synergy doesn't form in a corporation when you're afraid that you're going to get fired. You can't be synergistic with HR breathing down your back. Synergy happens when discipline becomes second nature and childlike fun is able to flow inside of a system of discipline. When I watched the film, I came early so I could watch the previews, and they're always giving us details and they're always letting us know. And I want to make a separate video on this about the Hunger Games, the capital cities. And the previews for the film were The Devil Wears Prada 2, which is, I didn't see the film. I'm not going to say any negative. I need to learn how to shut my fucking mouth. But I didn't see it, so I won't comment on it. It feels 10 years too late. Anne Hathaway feels a little bit disingenuous in some of the things she says, but people like to take stuff out of context. So I'll leave it there. Second preview was for Spider-Man. Look, I'm an old millennial, Tobey Maguire. I'm sorry, but that's just my childhood. And so this Tommy kid, he's like a little baby. Like I get it. I get it. Zendaya, the Tommy thing. But it's just a little bit, I was a little too old, a little too young to appreciate. So I see the next preview. It's for the Mandalorian, George Lucas. I just never forget him sitting there signing away the paperwork because his wife made him. And it's just never been quite the same. But that's fine. Disney owns it. He had a sweetheart deal. But I won't forget the preview for the Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping. I won't forget the Hunger Games. Again, I was a little too old, but still it was my generations. And I look at a Michael Jackson, who was an artist. I look at The Who, and that's what stuck out to me when I was watching the previews. And Love Reign Over Me is the song that they use in the preview. And they're always telling us what the plan is. They're always letting us know what they're doing through movies, music, and film. And I want to make a separate video on this about the districts that are forming right now in our country and in our world. It's not too late, and they haven't solidified. The borders have not solidified, but I will say here, California is the capital. And I will die on that hill that this is the capital. And that's why they're trying to scare everyone out of here, because this will be the haven when things fully hit the fan. And I don't know when that'll be, but let me tell you, I will say right now, it is not a hurricane state, babe. No, okay? Let me just tell you right now, it is not a place that can't grow grain that is going to be the freaking capital city. And if you are too freaking silly to see that Mom Donnie and little man with his little boot lifts in it, little Rick DeSantis, no hate Rick DeSantis, but he's wearing lifts in his boots. If you don't think that they're all having dinner together, laughing at us peasants, then you're a fool. This has always been a thing. Know where the winds are headed. Don't be afraid to put your hands in the air. And that's what Michael Jackson did. He was aware of the winds. He had so much discipline in his practice from his abusive father. And then look. The kids say he was abusive too. I mean, I don't know. I hear from the Jermaine and Janet and all the other kids, they say he was abusive. I see love. I see love and discipline. The Who wouldn't be the Who if they hadn't been on beat, on point. You don't go to the studio off beat. You don't go there to rehearse. You go there ready to perform. And in the midst of this very dark time where we have the Hunger Games boundary walls being drawn, that's what we are in right now. Michael Jackson knew that. And he still created childlike fun. He still talked to the animals, had sensitivity, and protected children from Epstein. Yeah, he did. And I'm ashamed of the boomers for not a whole lot. I have a lot of compassion for the boomers because I understand hunting rabbits, starving, no heat. You know, these are real factors for boomers. But I have very little compassion for the cancellation of Michael Jackson. And I think that part of being a Christian, you know, I almost don't like calling myself that. And I've been walking the Christian path, side note, but I almost feel embarrassed because I'm so ashamed of a lot of the Christian behavior that I see. One thing about being a Christian is to have a repentant heart. To truly say, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. And I said it on my podcast with Tatiana. If I ever am truly wrong, I will apologize. If I'm ever really off base, like, whoa, that was all inappropriate, shouldn't have said that, was way off key. But if Layla Hormozi is a man, it'll be interesting. And if I'm wrong, I am sorry. But if she's a man, it changes things. It does. I'm not afraid to ask these questions. Okay? And the thing with the boomers, they need to apologize for what they did to Michael Jackson. Or they at least need to have a repentant heart, because if they're upset, and if we can all kind of point back, you know, when history is being written, we all point back to when did things change? What was the catalyst? What was the moment when things changed? And I'll speak on as a 32-year-old, I'll be 33 on May 13th. The moment that Michael Jackson was 2005, The People versus Michael Jackson, that's when cancel culture started. That's when cringe culture started. That's when it became embarrassing to be in your childlike fun. So much so that being around children made you a pedophile. Meanwhile, the real pedophiles were the ones writing the stories about the man protecting the children. Yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. So boomers, I'm disappointed that you did that much acid with Timothy Leary, and you couldn't see a lie from the truth. Honey, you're the most tapped in. Supposedly, according to Woodstock 69, you're supposed to be the ones who are tapped in with the truth. So how come when the man who delivered 40 years of entertainment and escape from hell, you were right quick, fast, in a hurry to cancel his ass? And now you're wondering why your children are afraid to produce anything of any decent quality. We owe Michael Jackson an apology. We all do. We all need to look at this man. And I would encourage you to go see the film. I went for motivation, cried like a baby, through the night. I mean, I went to the movie, cried through the movie, came home and cried myself to sleep. That's a big order for me. That's like that's not something that's happening on like a weekly, monthly basis. Doesn't happen. I don't know, the last time I cried at a movie was, 2007, The Notebook. Like it's not happening. These things don't happen for me. So what can we learn from Michael Jackson? A, get your ass in shape. Discipline is love. It's not abuse. When you have a talent, hone it, own it, master it. That's why the Hormozis of the world win, because they don't have any talent. They just show up. Like anymore, literally appearing is enough. Being a body in a seat on time is literally more than most are willing to do. Guys, this is, it's sickening. It's sickening to my stomach. That's why they're winning. They're literally just appearing. Well, I showed up. I'm here at the podcast, and I'm here to. Oh my God! If I hear one more, I'm physically ill, physically sick. And then I listen to The Who. I listen to Michael Jackson. I'm like, woo! I can't even dance, and I'm like ready to try to learn how to do the moonwalk, right? So discipline is love, and you need to be cringe. Yeah, you need to be cringe. You don't understand why your friend group is this and that. You don't throw your hands up. Hey, Henry Miller, my boy, my philosophy guy. This, what the fuck is this? This little flick, the frat flick? Looking side to side. Look to God. Look up. Rockers. We're not looking up enough. We're not. Let's do a little exercise. Close your eyes. And I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think about a time in your childhood where you were being really silly and time didn't exist. You're watching a VHS, Land Before Time was on, or you're heating up pizza bowls, or you're making a Lunchables, little pizza. You're at the lunchroom. You're blowing bubbles. Do you remember? Yeah. Integrate that moment. Remember what it felt like to be so silly that you were looking at the clouds and you were seeing little animals in the clouds. When's the last time? We look up at the clouds and go, chemtrails! Like we're like having a fucking freak out, you know? It doesn't make you spiritual. It doesn't make you more spiritual to be skitzing out. You know, that famous meme where it's I'm from Philadelphia originally, Society Hill, baby. And he's got the map of the different, lines going to the conspiracies, and it's this and it's Epstein and blah. Look, we could sit down and we could go down a hole. We could go all the way down from Hillary Clinton to Jeffrey Epstein, Mossad, to the reptiles, and they came in through Napoleon, and they were from the Atlantis. I mean, we could go there. Does that make you spiritual? Does it help you? Look, it's good to be aware, but where we are now, it doesn't really serve, because if you're rigid and fixed in a time of air and fire, because that's what we're in, it's a time of air and fire, Aries and Aquarius, and all this heat. I mean, even James Cameron, literally the movie is called Fire and Ash. Like it's literally the Avatar movie that came out first was Avatar, then it was the water and the way of the water, and now it's the fire and ash, because this is the fire season. Like this is the fire time, this is the air time. Fire and air don't want to be contained. They need to flow. They need to flow across the winds. So little kids, they flow. Little kids can feel it. And we all have inside of us If we take that discipline, like we know the enemy, we know it's the enemy. We take that, we combine it with the childlike wonder that Michael Jackson literally imprinted into our subconscious, created a ripple, an avatar, whoosh, a real avatar, a real alchemist who's like, if you go like this, if you really go like this, you will actually start to feel the molecules between your hand. I don't care who you are. You will actually start to feel the molecules like right here. I can feel it. It's heat. We have it. We're freaking magical. If we learn anything from Michael Jackson, is that we are magic. And we forgot, we were embarrassed. The boomers all shamed us. Oh, he's a weirdo. He's a pedophile. No. He was literally escaping children from pedophiles. And those same ones who were inflicting wounds onto children were the ones who were writing the articles that said he was the bad guy until he died. And frankly, we have got to have that much long suffering, parts of the Bible that we don't want to hear because we grew up with like some negative stuff. I love a Joel Osteen. I love a Joseph Prince, but this prosperity gospel stuff, look, God will take care of you, but you might die. In fact, you will die. It's part of the plan. We all die. What we don't want to do is to die and then stand before our Creator and say, well, I was afraid. Well, I might have acted that way, but geez, I was afraid of what my friends would say. You think that the Creator is going to be impressed with that story? Well, geez, I know you gave me this talent to move my body or to sing or to speak, but I was scared. That shit ain't going to fly. And especially because you know better. It's better to die a hero than to live into long age and have the knowing. There is no peace in age. Especially when you know what you should have done. There's no peace there. It might be even more suffering. Because there's no youth in front of you. All that's in front of you is your Creator, your Maker. So making these cowardly choices. Little kids are not anything but cowardly. I used to say, I was a nanny at one point. I have 3 kids. It's like suicide watch. They're ready to jump. Woo! They're not afraid. And that's tough for the parent, right? You're like, please don't hurt your brain. Like, don't jump off the coffee table. Watching my son jump down the steps. We used to slide down the stairwell. Like to jump on real, like, woo, roller coaster. That part. That's what was misread on Michael Jackson. He was tapped in to the most high frequency, which is fun, which is childlike, which is the Creator. We're all going to die. It's about living. Not numbing, not escaping. So remember, your health is your wealth. Invest wisely. Go check out the Michael Jackson movie if you need to remember you're one with the Creator. Okay.